Let's get into a comfortable position where you can be upright and feel settled at the same time. So I like to sit like this because especially if you're a little stiff in the morning in your hips, sitting on the floor can be make you round your back a little bit. So let's figure out where we can get a nice alignment. Turn to the side here so you guys can see that mainly we really want to get those hips level and our ribs stacked over our hips. All right. When we think about what we want out of our posture, we're really not looking to have sort of a ramrod sort of arched back, because what that's really doing is locking up our low back and kind of not allowing our core to get involved. Okay. So if you think of the rib cage almost like a front to back, we want to get it more stacked over the hips. Okay. So hips level, ribs down. You shouldn't see a big bulge here. You should feel like you relax, breathe out, and just get settled. And the more you guys start to settle, the support from the ground up, that you're sitting on something that's holding you up, you'll start to relax your musculature a little bit, and then your breathing pattern naturally will start to restore down into your belly. And you can just kind of go with that instead of trying to force it in. Let's just try to see if we can relax a little bit, let that breathing get restored down into the belly. Especially because our series of progressions is going to start on the floor today. We want to make sure that we have some sense of what it feels like to be held up by the ground. Okay, so we're breathing in. And then we let it go. Trying to tune into those sensations of breathing in, belly expanding, air moving through the nose. As you exhale, maybe air coming out through the mouth or the nostrils. Belly kind of deflates. If you need to close your eyes to really tune into this, if you've got a lot of distractions around your house right now or your mind's racing, just allow yourself to focus on your body for a minute here. Feel like this point at contact where the floor is contacting your body, whether it's in a chair or the floor. Start to just feel a little heavier into the ground. It doesn't mean we're getting sleepy. It just means we're shutting off global tension that we don't need, right? Relax the muscles, relax your neck, relax your jaw. And then the more you shut everything else down, get all that tension, you're going to start to be able to filter out all that noise and tune into the breathing in your belly. And it should feel a little easier now to feel that expansion. So if you just want to put your hands on your belly, not because you're trying to control it, you just want to feel the movement here. Where is it happening? Are you getting a lot of front movement? Are you getting any movement to the side? If you aren't, see if you can make a little adjustment. Maybe let the ribs settle down a little more. And then now that we've got some sense, I want you to give yourself a little push. Take your hands, push into the sides of your lower ribs, and just see how your body responds. Sometimes you might just push back with your next breath. Okay, so we're going to breathe into that hand position. Gently try to push the hands apart, let it go. Push in a little bit harder as you get into that exhale and you feel the ribs kind of coming back together. Give yourself a little push. We're actually mobilizing our rib cage a little bit, making sure it's moving, that we're not stiffening up here. Give it a little push. Now breathe into that. Feel it move apart. Let it go. Let's really focus on that lateral excursion of the rib cage. Breathe in. And let it go. Now let's put our hands in the front and the back. Just start off by awareness first. How much movement do you sense going on in the front and the back? Is it mostly in the front? Are you getting anything back here that tells you that you're getting some breath back here? Again, feel settled into the ground. We're going to do 3 more breaths. Let's go back to the ribs. Feel there. We really want to have this sense that that breath is 360 degrees all the way around, because as soon as we get moving, guys, we want to be able to have that locked in, calibrated. All right, good job. All right, guys, we're going to be on our knees quite a bit in this first sequence. So if you need some padding, definitely grab that. I'm going to get a little bit for myself here. whether it's a towel or a pillow, a cushion, or if you just have a mat on the ground. I'm going to get this sort of balance pad here. All right, we're going to start off right on the knee. And we're going to get all 1, 2, we've got 2 feet down. We're going to get our hips right on something, and we're going to start working on hinging and rotating through this hip. All right, so we've got our back hopefully nice and flat here. And we're going to work on rotating through this hip. So we're going to quickly recap getting this rotation through the hip. Okay, and to do that, we need everything else to be pretty stable. So I need my head in line with my back is flat going all the way down to my hip. My back leg is straight, so everything is rotating through here. Okay, so my knee is moving away from my body. Now it's moving back. It's moving away and moving back. Okay, so we call that external rotation of the hip, and then we got internal rotation of the hip. And you may find that as you go deep into those ranges, that one feels like, whoa, that feels a little more challenging to be here maybe. Can I squeeze my glute a little? And can I think of pulling myself back towards my knee through my hip? So the hip, you want to feel loaded here. What I mean by loaded is you want to feel your weight through this femur up into that hip socket. You want to feel like, oh, that's where my weight is. Not so much leaning on my hands, but how can I be balanced enough over this knee? Because as we get up to a standing position, we're going to be having to balance over our foot. So right now we've taken away a little bit of the knee and that foot. And all we really have to focus on is right here. So this is going to be where it's a little easier for you guys to feel the effect of that hip working. So I want you guys to squeeze your glute a little bit. Again, make sure you're not overextended, right? That your ribs are stacked. You're over your knee. You're pushing the floor away through your knee. Then you're pulling the floor back through your knee, okay? I'm going to kind of rotate around at some different angles so you guys get the sense of pushing the floor away, pulling it back. We're going to do 5 more of these. Push the floor away, come back, okay? If you can, lift your back foot off the ground now. See if you can feel more of a sense that you're holding yourself up through your leg and knee and your hip. If you're doing this right and you're really focusing on squeezing the glute, okay, you should feel a little bit of a burn going on here. So I've got my leg up, I'm lifting, and then I'm coming back down, okay? So we did quite a few reps just recapping on how to do it through these points of contact on the right knee. We're going to switch to the left now. Let's get some reps here. So again, I'm rotating. Now I'm coming back down. I'm thinking of dropping that hip. Now I'm thinking of lifting that hip. But we don't want to lift from our low back. We don't want to lift through this leg. We're just trying to push the floor away, and then I'm pulling the floor back. And what helps us do that is the sense of pressure in this knee here. So we want to keep that knee pressured into the floor the whole time. I'm pushing my knee into the ground. And then as I come back, I'm pushing my knee into the ground. And you can see I'm kind of rotating here. External rotation, internal rotation. Try to keep some sense that you're using your hip, okay? So from this angle, if I come up, it's like we're pushing the knee out, then we're pulling it back in. So if I give myself some resistance, I'm pushing my knee out, and I'm pulling my knee in. I'm getting work here on these different positions. So think of the floor as a weight that you're pushing away from you, and now you're pulling that weight back. So you want to feel resistance both directions. I'm squeezing my glute. Make sure you're breathing. Okay, good. Let's switch back to the other knee. We're going to lift that leg up. We're going to do opposite arm, opposite leg now. So this requires more core stability. We have less balance. So now we're opposite arm, opposite leg. We're going to try the same thing. This arm's going to drop as I rotate. And now the leg's going to drop as I come back up. Because we're pivoting off the knee and the hand. Again, push the floor away through your knee. Focus on the hip, guys. Pull the knee back to you. Push the floor away. Pull the knee back to you. Okay, push the knee away. Make sure you're breathing into that 360 breath. One more time, big breath in. And big breath out. Good. Switching. We're going to be doing switches pretty fast here because we're going to cover some different versions and variations here. Okay, so again, 1, 2, knee is 3. This foot's going to be off, but then we're going to lift the opposite arm of the leg that's behind us. So I've got my right leg up, left arm up. Push the floor away. So we need to stay balanced over our knee. Squeeze your glute the whole time. Squeeze your glute. And we want to feel this in our hip. So by removing a point of contact, this hip has to do more work. It's got to push that body around on its own a little bit more. You're also going to get some work on your shoulder, trying to hold your arm straight. You're going to get some work on the back leg, trying to hold that back leg off the floor. Squeeze your glute on both hips. We want to keep that spine nice and neutral so we don't start overusing our low back. 2 more. One more time, make sure you're breathing. Good job, guys. Good. We're switching sides again. Now we're going to do the same side. So I'm going to get my left leg back and my left arm up. And now I'm pushing off a little bit of this knee and my hand. I want to make sure when I hold this up here that I've got my weight on my knee still. Okay, not on the hand so much. You're going to use the hand a little bit, but I still want you thinking about that knee. So we're going to come down, feel the knee pressure. You may have to slow down to make sure that you don't fall to the left or right and lose the pressure in the floor. So I'm pushing the floor away, trying to keep my balance. So stay back on that back foot a little bit. Push the floor away. Ease it back down slow. Control is what we're after. We should be able to hold both directions and breathe. Push up to the top position. Hold that top position. Try to straighten out your leg. Try to straighten out your arm. Get a big breath in here. Again. Ease it back slow. Control. I want to be able to breathe. Keep that core tight. Good. We're having to really drive that hip out. So I want you guys to think of driving that hip out. Okay, that's going to help you stay balanced over your knee. And come back. One more time. Really emphasizing that pushing the floor away. Okay, we're switching sides. Hopefully you guys are getting that burn in your hips. Okay, just remember, go back. If you're feeling like, this movement's really challenging me, go back to breathing. Are you overextended? Can you get that rib cage down a little bit? Can we get our breathing back into our ribs and our sides? Get this leg back. Here we go. We're pushing that floor away, right? Now we're coming back down. Squeeze your butt, tuck your hips a little bit, push the floor away. Think about breathing into that low back. Have some sense, some connection of where your breath is going in your body. Think of the breath as in the foreground and the movement in the background. And I know that gets challenging. As this movement starts to get more challenging, you're going to want to try to force it. But remember, you can't move very well if you can't breathe very well. 3 more. Push that hip out to the side. Last one. Good job, guys. Good. All right, we are going to actually get up now. So we're going to try to stand. All right, let's see if we can work this now through our actual standing position. Okay, so up until now, we've been on this knee, pushing the floor away, okay, pushing the floor away, bringing the floor back, pushing the floor away, bringing the floor back, okay? Now we're going to put this leg down on the ground, and we're going to tip forward into that position. Okay, so what's difficult about that is now you have to manage your spine. As you tip, you've got to stay flat, okay? So I want you guys to really think about, if you need to put your hands on your hips for this to start, you can. We're going to reach this leg back. We're going to try to push the floor away and come back. If you need to reach out and hold something like the top of the back of a chair, you can do that, or a countertop or the back of your couch. Okay, so you can reach back. We're going to push that floor away. Make sure this knee is aimed towards those small toes and that your knee is not caving in. Okay, so if I face you guys directly, I want to make sure that this knee does not cave in as I try to turn, right? But if anything, it's going to wind up. We're going to keep that nice stable arch. And then I'm going to come back down. Here's my airplane wings. Kind of reminding us how much rotation is actually happening, right? Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're just thinking about that hip moving, but there's a lot of rotation going on here. How much you tip forward is based on your mobility level. Can I tip forward a little more? Push the floor away. Steer that plane. I'm going to do 3 more. It's an amazing drill when you think about how much is involved. Where we can put our arms if we want to make it more or less challenging. Make fists with your hands if you need to have some more tension in the body. Try to relax the toes. Very good, guys. Whew. Definitely getting a lot of work on that hip. You're getting a ton of stability through the core, especially if you're managing keeping that spine stable. Let's switch sides, okay? Now remember, we want our toes to be pretty relaxed. We don't want our toes to be squeezing like this. If you want to squeeze something, think about squeezing the arch of your foot a little bit. So if you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, I'm going to squeeze my arch a little, but not my toes like that. I need those toes spread out and wide so that I have a nice wide base to stand on. Okay, so I'm going to switch sides. Sometimes I'll even spread my big toe out, make sure I've got a big wide base of support. Squeeze that glute. Make sure the ribs are stacked. Get that nice big breath in here. Okay, know I'm in a nice stable position. The diaphragm moved down to give me a lot of trunk stability. Now my glute feels like it's firing. I'm going to try to keep that spine stable as I go, as far as I feel like I can. If I need to keep that back foot down for a second, that's okay. I can kind of pivot off my toe like a little kickstand. Squeeze your fist, squeeze your back. Keep that big toe on the floor if you need to. Try not to squeeze your toes. Push this hip out to the side to make sure you get a big stretch in here. You're going to feel that, and you're really wound up. It's like you're trying to turn your belly button or this hip towards that thigh. So we're winding up. Now I'm unwinding. Breathing will help you rotate. So breathe in. As we breathe in, we help those rib cage expand. We help rotation. Breathe out to come back. Now I'm going to lift this leg, see if I can keep my balance. So I'm going to hold here, see if I can reclaim my balance and breathe for a second. Remember, breathing normalizes movement. Okay, I feel like I got a little bit better balance. I'm going to slowly come down, keeping my foot relaxed, but squeezing my arch. Push. So we're really, guys, just trying to articulate just through the hip. just through the hip, trying to keep everything else stable. Push the floor away. Remember how it felt on your knee. I'm going to do 3 more. Remember, if you have to hold something, hold something. If you have to put your back foot down, that's okay. It's always good to have positions and shapes that we're trying to chase, but have some go-to versions that we can do well. There you guys go. Good job. All right, we're going to finish back down on the ground. Notice when you put your hands on the floor, it's all of a sudden like your breath returns, because we may be holding our breath a little bit, straining a little too much, compensating a little too much. It's important to go back to where we had all this stability and appreciate now. Oh my gosh. Now how does it feel? It's almost like your body's like, oh, thank goodness. Now I can actually breathe well and I can move so much more efficiently through that hip. That's why I want you guys to realize that every movement, every position is a progression. And sometimes what you see being demonstrated in front of you is not where you might need to start. You might need to think, okay, how can I get a little bit more stability so that I can breathe better and actually feel the intention of this movement? So remember, on a very small level, all we're trying to do is get this hip rotating and moving around. Okay, there's a lot of different ways we're going to do that. The hip airplane is just one structure you can use to restore some rotation back into your hip. And so I'm going to kind of continuously cover some new ways that you guys can do that. But I feel like sometimes having a movement that gives you a structure to work on hip health is a little easier than just trying to chase hip health, right? So if you remember that movement is like lotion, right? Motion is lotion, movement is like lotion. And that movement back into these hips that get really stiff, especially if you're sitting all the time and it's always stuck about this height in a chair or a car, doesn't get a lot of movement, gets really locked up and stiff. We need some type of structure to help us say, hey, what's a practice I can do to get some movement back in my hip? I don't know what else to do. I'll just use the hip airplane, right? We can go down to the ground. We can work our way up and back down, see what feels like comfortable for that day, okay? All right, guys, awesome work. Join me next Saturday at 8 a.m. I love feedback, even if it's brutal, okay? So let me know, is this helping? Is this clear for you? How did you feel the rest of the day? Okay, if you can send a text if you have it, or direct message me, whether it's through social media or email, please, guys. Really, really helps. I want to see more people on this class. And so if you can send it to people, share the link, anything you can, okay, it would really help me out, because I'm learning just like you guys are. What do people need out there? Okay, so the more feedback, the better. So please share, ask questions, give me some ideas. What areas you guys want to hear more about? Is it feet, toes, hips, shoulders, ankles, right? If you go down the list, somewhere in there is some pain, some suffering that you've had either in the past or currently. For some of us, it might be acute, like, why am I suddenly feeling a pain here? For some of us, it might be chronic, like I've just consider myself somebody with back pain and it's never going to go away. All of that can change. Okay, so just give me a message any way you can and let me know what will help.